I want to show you the benefits of using Pydantic with a single Kafka topic with multiple events going on the Kafka topic. And then we're going to use Pydantic so that we can have a single Databricks job cluster pull different events off the Kafka topic. And Pydantic will identify which event is which according to the signature and handle all of our input validation and error handling for us without us having to write all of that manually. So imagine you have 3 different events that get published to Kafka, and those events have whatever arguments they have. You could manually write checks to make sure, is this event correct? Is it formatted correctly? Do I understand it over and over and over again? Or you can just have Pydantic do that. The adapter pattern that you use to implement it is a little bit tricky, not that bad. So I'm going to go over the code to show you how to implement that and then call a function for each different event type. Now, really, you would call like a Databricks inference endpoint if you were doing some type of machine learning. So everything would use like a predict, but it could be anything, really. You could do anything you wanted with it. So the steps to do this, and I'm going to show you the code to do this right now, is first, we're going to pull a request from Kafka. So we have to have the right Kafka package created. Then we need to understand what kind of request it is and is it valid. That's where we're going to use the Pydantic library. Then we're going to do something with it. We're going to do something with it. In our case, we're just going to return a string because what we do with it is not the important part. That could be all kinds of complicated code, or you can call an inference endpoint. You could download an ML flow model and use it or whatever, but just imagine all of that. And then finally, we're going to publish a response on a different topic. So that's the thing. Those are the main 4 steps that you're going to see. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is pip install some requirements. I've got the requirements file right here so you can see that. Here's, we're going to use Kafka Python library. We're going to use, I don't know why we have that twice, that's bad. We have Pydantic that we're going to use. For those resolves, we could use OpenAI, ChatGPT, we could use LangChain, we could use scikit-learn stuff, we could just call the inference endpoint or whatever, but that's irrelevant. But just focus on the fact that we're bringing Pydantic in and we're going to do something cool with it, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at the code real quick. So we install all of the requirements, right? We have to restart Python when we do that. Then we have some plumbing here to do. Basically, we're connecting to Kafka using the dbutil secrets, like API key and the secret, right? No big deal here. Now, here's some magic though. So we're bringing in an abstract base class and we're bringing in Pydantic base model. And we're defining a Kafka event handler that's an abstract base class off of the base model. Why are we doing that? Because we want everything that we deal with to have an event. That's what we're going to use to route to the correct event. And every single thing that we route needs to implement a resolve method. That's the abstract method resolve. So these are the 3 classes that we're going to create off of that Kafka event handler class we just defined. So in this case, the event is health for health handler, summarize for summarize handler, and concat2strings for concat2strings handler, and they all implement a different resolve. They're all forced to have that method signature, and it's going to be different when we call it. Okay, so we wire that all together through this union. Through the Pydantic, we create an events handler, and finally we use type adapter to create an adapter, and that adapter is what we're going to use later on down. So we've defined all this. Now that we've defined that, let's define what happens when we get a Kafka request. So we expect every Kafka request to have an event and a body. That body is going to have the definition for all the parameters later on. We're going to parse it. So every single thing, we're going to define the parse request that takes a JSON and it returns a Kafka request. It says, hey, make sure that the JSON's valid and then return it. And if you can't, return the error. Okay. Then we define a response. So if the request coming in off of the request topic, now we're going to do something with it and define our response. And our response is going to be, did it work? Here's the response, and was there an error? So in our get response definition, we're going to say, first, create the Kafka event off of the JSON body that you expected. Validate it. Is it correct? If it's not, call an error. If it is correct, call the resolve that we know each one of those handlers implemented from the earlier cell. Now, after we do that, here's just a quick plumbing definition to write to Kafka. No big deal. You guys have, if you've worked with Kafka before, you've seen it. If you haven't, you can look it up, but here's the code to do that. This code all works, by the way, as long as you have the correct Kafka topic created and you've got the dbutils defined, this notebook will work just fine for you. Okay, so we write a message to Kafka, right? Okay, we also have a streaming data frame that will help us with the read, which we don't really need to use, but we include it in case you want to throw this into a job later. Okay, now there's this method for route request, and this is what is going to tie up all those things that you saw defined earlier, right? So you saw the method for parsing, so parse it, right? Check it, publish the error if there's an error. Do we have the correct event? Is it formed correctly? Okay, then if there's a problem, publish the error. Okay, now get the request message and call the response. So that response is what's going to call that resolve. Did the response work? If the response didn't work, publish the response error. Otherwise, publish the success. Right? It's just that simple. Okay, so what's the time? 6:15 right now. All right, so these are 3 successes. Let's go ahead and do that at 6:15. Okay, if we come back here and we jump to a time, and the time we're going to jump to is 6:15, so let's put 15 there and apply it. Boom! Those are 3 success messages. So what you saw here in the code is, 1, this is just a health check. So in the JSON body, the event is health, right? This is the summarize. In the JSON body, you're seeing that verbose text parameter. So if we go all the way back up here to where we defined the handler, here's the verbose text parameter definition, right? Down here for the concat, it's a first string and second string definition. So if we go all the way down to the call, that's the inside the body, that's the verbose text parameter, for the summarize event. And then for the concat 2 strings event, here's the first string and here's the second string and then the call. And then I just print it to make sure that I can double check that it all looks good. And here you're seeing those successes. So here's the concat 2 strings with the first string and second string, and boom, now it's concated. And here, now the summarize, the nonsense summarize, we didn't actually call the endpoint, we just made it up, but whatever, you don't care. And then here's just the health check with no parameters. And so you can see all that works. Now, the beauty of Pydantic, the thing that you really care about, is when it blows up on you. So if we want it to blow up, here is a task ID for the health check, but the event, I didn't write health like I'm supposed to. I just wrote Ike. So if we go all the way back up here, right, the magic of Pydantic is that it's routing correctly on the event type. So health, summarize, concat 2 strings. Well, down here, the event Ike isn't there, isn't defined, so we should get an error. The event summarize is defined, but what happens if I misspell verbose text? And the event concat 2 strings is defined, but what happens if I only have the first string and I take off the second string? So when I run that runs pretty quickly. I come back up here, I rerun I go into Confluent Cloud, I look at, oh, look, errors. Okay, what are the errors? Well, this error said union tag invalid. There is no Ike. Okay, what did this one say? This one said, oh, it's right here. This one said, you're missing a field. I'm looking for verbose text and I didn't see that in the body. This one said, you're missing a field. I did not see a second string. I only saw the first string, but not the second string. Now, did you see me write any of that code? Did you see me check for the right event or write code to check for the right parameters? Or are they the right data types? Are they in the right format? All of that I could have written by hand, but Pydantic is handling that for me. And that's the power here. That's the amazing thing here that I wanted to show. So if you go back to our earlier slide, you could create one topic in Kafka and you can save a lot of money by just having one job cluster. and you could publish a ton of events on that Kafka topic, and you could have Pydantic do the enforcement by just implementing the pattern that you're seeing in this code. Pretty simple code once you follow along with it. Hopefully that helps you. Thanks. Have a great day.